Hi everybody, I'm Jeff,
And I'm Linda.
and welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we talk about the paranormal at a pub table. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 6 different types of hauntings that you may encounter on a paranormal investigation. Now, the first type of haunting on our list tonight is a residual haunting.
Now, a residual haunting is one in which usually a very tragic event or one that causes a lot of human emotion becomes imprinted on the atmosphere. The energy that is created from this tragic or very painful event in people's lives sort of becomes imprinted on time, if you will, and it can play itself over and over and over again, sometimes on the same night or the same date that the event had actually occurred. People will witness this event over again. People can see ships, they can see other people, they can see dogs, animals, houses, just about any inanimate or animate object being played out right there in front of them. However, this is not an intelligent haunting where a person is going to interact with the living. They simply go about this routine that had happened in the past.
Right, and this haunting, as Linda said, it's completely unaware of what's around it. For example, there's a woman in white that's seen at Fort Monroe going along the boardwalk. And this is just a residual haunting. This woman, she's there at a certain time maybe, or a certain time of night, a certain date, and you see her going along the boardwalk, and she won't interact with you. She won't even notice that you're there. It's just a residual haunting. Another example, and a more common example, is that of a battlefield. I've heard stories from Gettysburg where an entire tour group has witnessed a battle going on, and they thought it was so realistic and so right in front of them that they thought it was a reenactment. And they complimented the Park Service, on the reenactment that was taking place, and they said, hey, there were no reenactors out there this morning. So they were able to see this going on, just replaying itself, unaware that they were there, and no chance of interacting. Now, one thing interesting to mention about a residual haunting is a residual haunting can also be of someone that's still alive. For example, this battle could have replayed a year after it happened. It could have been replaying itself. The residual haunting could have been there. Now, not all the people involved in that battle, not all of them died.
Right.
So there's a chance that you could come back to a location that you were at before and experienced a traumatic event, and you could see a residual haunting of yourself.
Right.
Similar things have occurred in houses where there have been high emotions, say a couple that argues a lot, a very, very nasty breakup or divorce, and the residual energy from this arguing and from this just negativity that took place within these walls could be burned on the atmosphere.
Right.
And people could hear voices yelling and such as residual haunting.
Yes. And it's important to note that in houses where people live for a long period of time, they can often see the same figure do the same exact thing again and again and again. This is not an intelligent spirit. This is just an imprint on time that is going to replay itself again.
Exactly. And these residual hauntings can happen as a sight, like you can see a physical person. They can happen as a sound. You can hear footsteps, something being dropped or moved around.
Yes.
Or it can also happen as smells. There's a story, I believe it's from the Boxwood Inn, where they will smell cigar smoke. And this isn't an intelligent haunting, it's cigar smoke from the man who used to own the place.
Right.
And he died. He used to smoke cigars all the time.
Yes.
And you can still pick up the residual smell of these cigars at certain times and certain points.
Yes, tobacco smoke is a common thing that they smell. Another common smell that people have is like perfume or a cologne that somebody has worn. So.
Right. And this also goes to say, when you're doing a paranormal investigation, make sure you're not smoking. Make sure you're not wearing an excessive amount of perfume or cologne, because it could interfere with your evidence. If someone in the group is wearing a lot of perfume, it may hinder your ability to smell any residual odor that may be there.
Right.
All right, so moving on to our next type of haunting.
Poltergeist is the second type of haunting. And a poltergeist is a very interesting subject because there are a lot of different theories about what it could be. But the most commonly accepted theory is that a poltergeist is a manifestation of somebody's inner thoughts and inner emotions. Usually this is an adolescent female within a household. For some reason, adolescent females tend to build up a lot of internal energy. And this energy, if it's suppressed, can often manifest itself into a being that is outside of the body that can wreak havoc in the house. A poltergeist, the word, means noisy ghost. And what this is a spirit that can go around and slam cabinet doors, open regular doors and shut them. It can cause things to fly off of the shelves and fly across the room. It can be a lot of activity that some people may attribute to demons, but it's not actually a demon. And a lot of times this energy is focused around the person that the adolescent female is angry at, or that is causing them a lot of emotion. So the adolescent female does not have to be present for this manifestation to be wreaking havoc within a house or within a location.
So these poltergeists, they're not always, mostly they are the adolescent girl, but not always. Sometimes it can be a male, an adolescent male, or it can be any person really on a more rare occasion.
Yes.
And there was something about, was it psychokinesis?
Right. Yes. I believe that's what they had called it, was usually these people that can manifest these things have a certain psychic power, psychokinesis. So they can project this anger or this frustration or whatever it may be out of themselves.
And somewhat subconsciously move
Yes.
stuff with their minds.
Exactly, yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
So this could be mistaken for a ghost,
Mm-hmm.
but not a ghost at all, coming from a person.
Right.
And that's going to bring us to our third type of haunting,
Mm-hmm.
the demonic haunting, or the demon haunting. And this is going to be the rarest haunting that
Right.
you would encounter.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, from some of the characteristics of other hauntings, be it malevolent spirits, poltergeists,
Mm-hmm.
and such, they tend to conclude that they have a demon in their house.
Yes.
But after a thorough investigation, you can determine otherwise. The demonic haunting, like we said, is going to be the least common.
Mm-hmm.
Now, demons. What are demons? Where did they come from? It is said that 1/3 of the angels were cast down
Mm-hmm.
with Lucifer, with Satan.
Right.
And these fallen angels are theorized to be as demons. Other people believe that demons are different than the fallen angels.
Right.
But whatever they are working for Satan or with Satan,
Mm-hmm.
his minions per se, and they're out about to cause unrest. They're trying to cause turmoil.
Yes.
They're trying to
chaos.
deceive. They can be very deceitful.
Oh, yes.
And this is why a lot of times when children see a ghost that appears as a child,
Mm-hmm.
that could be a demon. And the demon will appear as a child to appear less threatening,
Right.
to gain the child's trust.
Right.
Or even to an adult, he could appear as a child to gain the adult's trust, to appear
Right.
less intimidating. They are deceiving. They could also appear as a deceased family member.
Mm-hmm.
They can appear as an angel. And they can try to gain your trust and then slowly try to lead you astray or down the wrong path.
Right. Yes. Yes, and that is their main focus, is to cause turmoil, to cause chaos, to cause dissension within a family. And so that is, they can lie dormant for many, many years. You can somehow invite a demon into your home or into your family, and that demon can lie dormant for sometimes many years before it begins to manifest and begins to show itself. So just because you start having demonic activity doesn't mean that it hasn't been there for many years as well.
Now let's talk about some of the signs of a demonic activity or a demon haunting.
Yes, yes. One of the common things is for people to often smell foul odors. It's been described as rotting meat or rotting flesh that they smell. Generally a very, very foul odor that doesn't really have an explanation other than that. Now, one of the things we do on a paranormal investigation is in which somebody has reported smelling bad smells, is to look at the HVAC system. We need to make
Right.
sure that the ductwork does not have a dead animal laying in it, and that smell is not blowing through every time they turn on the AC or the heat.
Right.
Or in cases where sometimes the filter in the HVAC system has not been changed in a very long time. That filter can build up mildew, can build up mold, and often cause horrible smells in a
And
home.
we have encountered cases where that was exactly the case. You know, when we
Yes.
go on an investigation, when we do an investigation, the first thing we have to do is rule out all the natural explanations.
Right.
Before we jump to haunting at all,
Yes.
we got to make sure there's no natural explanation for it.
Yeah.
And in several cases with these smells, it has been the case of a dead animal. It has been the case of a dirty air filter.
Right,
And
right.
we were able to clear that up, and you know, it was clearly
Yeah.
not a demonic haunting.
Yes, and you'd be surprised how much a one single little mouse that is rotting in your wall can smell up a place. So we have to really
absolutely.
have a thorough investigation when somebody explains or says that they're having foul smells in a house.
Right. And there's also what we have is a long checklist of scenarios or
Right.
incidents that would pertain to demonic haunting. So if someone thinks they have a demon in their house, someone thinks they're under demonic oppression,
Yes.
we ask them all these questions. That's a lot to read off here.
Right.
If you are interested or you do have, feel that you have this kind of haunting going on, shoot us an email. We'll send you the checklist.
Right, absolutely.
But what are some more signs of a demonic haunting?
Another sign is that people often complain about being scratched or pushed or punched or hit. Scratches can occur from just very mean ghosts. People
Right.
that were mean or nasty in life will often be mean or nasty when they die.
Absolutely.
They can cause people physical harm. That's one of the myths that people have about ghosts as well. A ghost can't hurt me. That's not true. A ghost can hurt you. Every time you get hurt, it's not because of a demon. However, demons tend to do things in threes, and they say that that is a direct mockery of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and that's why they do it. But these scratches that appear on people often appear in triplicate.
Right.
So people will be scratched in places sometimes where they wouldn't normally be able to scratch themselves, like down the back. Or just recently I was watching a show, this kid in the middle of the night was scratched all the way up his forearm, 3 long scratches. So and these weren't scratches that you would get just by, a sharp fingernail scratching yourself. So
Right.
that's another one of the things that we ask about. We
So
look
watch
out
for the 3 scratches, 3
Yes.
knocks. That often happens.
Yes.
Watch for some other common things, reoccurring dreams.
Right.
Watch for dreams, or I should say thoughts that are not your own, that seem
Right.
to be placed in your head. If you know somebody in your family that is normally a very level-headed person, and they're suddenly having suicidal thoughts or thoughts of causing harm to
Right.
themselves or others, thoughts that don't seem to be their own,
Yes.
this could be a clear sign.
Yes, extreme depression, things
Right.
of that nature, yes.
Absolutely. And if you are having a demonic haunting, a demon haunting, you're going to want to do a house blessing. You might want to do a personal cleansing, and you might want to do it as soon as possible.
Right, right. Now it's often not effective. Sometimes these spiritual cleansings that you have to do have to be done again and again and again until the demon gets the idea that he's not going to be able to get a hold there. Because a demon's ultimate goal is usually to possess a person. If they're not allowed to get that hold on someone, then they will often, through the blessings, often you can make them leave. You can force them to leave.
4th type of haunting is going to be shadow people. Now, shadow people are probably some of the most common reports that we get.
Right.
Several cases that we've been to, people have reported seeing shadows, shadow figures, shadow people. They see them out of the corner of their eye, typically, just passing by. They don't really seem to walk like a person, just kind of float along.
Right. Right.
Sometimes they make weird little gestures, like they hop or dance. Typically, a typical shadow figure is one that seems to be wearing a hat. A lot of people have described it as a top hat.
Yes.
And they'll see this man or the figure of a man wearing this top hat. And they're very quiet.
Right.
They don't seem to make any noise. They never seem to communicate with anybody.
Right. Right.
They're just kind of there.
Right. Yes.
And this haunting right here, this is a mystery. Some people have even suspected that these hauntings are of an extraterrestrial nature.
Yes. Yes. Now, one of the things we have to make sure of in an investigation is we have to ask a bunch of questions if somebody is reporting that they see shadow figures, because shadow figures can also be reported in demonic activity. If you have a demon in your house, a lot of times it can appear as a shadow figure.
Right.
Also, it seems as if normal ghosts can appear as shadow figures as well. We're not exactly sure why, but sometimes it seems that that's the way they manifest themselves. Now, as he said, the normal shadow person, if you don't have a whole lot of other activity in your house, but you're seeing these shadows, then, it could be attributed to just these shadow people. And these things, like you said, are very quiet. Sometimes they're described as being extremely tall. They tend to move pretty quick.
Right. Heard of them darting back
Right.
and forth from room to room, or just
Yes.
darting down the hallway.
Yes.
But they don't seem to walk like a normal person.
Right.
It's always just a quick whoosh.
Right, exactly. And people do describe, as Jeff had said, that they see them out of the corner of their eye a lot. Now, this is one of the things that we also have to make sure people are aware of, that, as people start to get older, their eyes start to change. And it is a physical explanation that you can see things out of the corner of your eye that are not actually there. It's something that has to do with the makeup of the eye. So that's one of the things that we take into account when we go into an investigation. If there's not a single other bit of activity and the people are saying, well, I've never seen it head on, I've only seen it out of the corner of my eye, then a lot of times it may be that these people are simply experiencing that movement that is attributed to the physical changes that the eye goes through.
Right. And it's very hard to discern, as Linda said, or differentiate between the shadow figure that is a shadow figure or that is a demonic haunting.
Right.
Sometimes demons have been described to appear as a dark mist.
Yes.
Sometimes
yes.
shadow figures have been described to appear as a dark smoke.
Right, right.
Smoke, mist, very, very close together.
Right, very similar.
And it's all in the person's perception. Sometimes
Yes.
they get the two words kind of interchangeable: smoke, mist, fog.
Right.
So it's not really something you want to mess around with. But if you don't have a lot of other stuff going on, if you don't have stuff getting moved around, you don't have the foul smell,
Yes.
you don't have the knocking, the banging,
The
just a bunch of
scratches,
shadows
yes.
moving around. And I've heard of people that have had their house full of them. They say at a certain time of night, these shadow figures will just go crazy on the walls.
Right.
They'll just see them moving
Right.
all about. But they live with them. They deal with
Right.
them. Some
Yeah.
people don't want to deal with them, don't want to live with them. And once again, there are methods you could take to rid your house of any spirit, or
Right.
attempt to, at least, with a house blessing, cleansing,
Yes.
and push them out.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's definitely something I would recommend. We don't know the true nature of these shadow figures. Like you said, we don't know if they're extraterrestrial. We don't know if they're demonic. We don't know what the case is with these things. So, if you're seeing these shadow figures around your house, but you're really not experiencing a lot of other activity, you may still want to go through a house blessing, because you don't know what the long-term effects of these things being present can be. It could be that down the line in the future they could cause some sort of physical problems or ailments.
Right.
Or they could start causing problems within the house. So if you see these things, it's probably better to go through and get a house blessing immediately and try to clear these things out of your house, because they really shouldn't be there. Your house is your home. It doesn't belong to anybody else, and nothing else should invade your home, and especially not if it's causing you fear.
Absolutely. That's right.
Now, the fifth type of haunting on our list is a regular, or what they call an intelligent haunting. This is a haunting where a person that was living on earth at one time has passed over, has died, and their spirit, for whatever reason, has decided to linger behind and not go where they're supposed to go. So you have this, and a lot of times they have reasons, multiple reasons why this can happen. A lot of times these spirits feel like they have unresolved issues, or they want to stay behind to watch out over a family member or a child. Whatever the reason is, this is a being that stays behind. It stays on earth and tries to carry out or fulfill this mission or this goal of its. And it's one of those things where you can see a spirit, you can interact with this spirit. The spirit may talk to you. It may, as I've said before, it could go so far as to hurt you or to scratch you, depending on the nature of the spirit, whether it's an angry spirit. Sometimes these spirits just appear and people don't know who they are. It could be that it's attached to the house. It could be attached to the land. So you can be in a brand new house and you can still have a haunted house because of a spirit that's lingered behind and is attached to the land.
Right, and such is the case with one particular one I've heard of where there were houses being built and they stopped building them because the houses were haunted.
Right.
Now you ask yourself, how can a brand new house be haunted?
Right.
Well, they were building them on a battlefield or land that was part of a battlefield.
Yes.
So they just eventually left them because I guess contractors kept taking the job and kept being spooked. So they stopped doing it. Now they've been sitting there for years, no longer built.
Right.
There have been other instances where I've known of a house that was brand new, and the residents they saw a man would keep appearing in there.
Yes.
Why is this man appearing in the house? Well, it was built on the grounds of an old sanitarium.
Right.
So the land itself could be haunted, and these spirits, these intelligent hauntings, they often come back to a place that holds a lot of meaning to them. And this meaning could be good or bad. Soldiers could be drawn back to a battlefield.
Yes.
Spirits of the mentally insane could be drawn back to an insane asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, the spirit of your grandfather or great-grandfather, whoever built your family homestead, could be drawn back there because of the fond memories.
Right.
Because he built that place, he put his blood and sweat into it, and he raised his family there, and he has fond memories there.
Right.
So they can return to a place because they have good memories, because they have bad memories.
Yes.
Whatever the reason, it typically holds strong emotion or some kind of meaning to them.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yes. And another interesting note is that we have somebody that has a psychic who has worked with us in the past, and she had explained to us at one point that you can see spirits that are not just spirits who have lingered or stayed behind on earth, but you can also see spirits who have crossed over to the other side and can return to check up on their family members or whoever they want to. So the sighting of a spirit doesn't necessarily mean that this is a spirit that the body has died and it's chosen to stay here. It could be somebody that's just returning
Right.
to check up on you.
They can pass back and forth beyond the veil. And
Yes.
it's hard to say. No one knows for sure
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you die.
Right.
Depending on your religious beliefs and such, it's often open to a lot of interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
the time between here and that final place where you're going to spend eternity.
Right.
What fills that gap? Can you
Yes.
come back? I don't know. And it's hard to say for sure what any ghost is that you encounter, because as we said earlier, you got to be careful because demons can be deceitful.
Yes.
Now, by no means are all hauntings demons.
Right.
Like we said before, they're very rare.
Very rare.
But a haunting that does appear as a deceased family member or an intelligent haunting could very well be one of those demons trying to deceive you.
Right.
Trying to gain your trust, trying to tell you the wrong things, offer bad advice, to get you to go where he wants you to go, which is probably not where you need to be going. So you got to be careful for such. Now, as Linda said earlier, a lot of times they'll try to let you know that they're there.
Right.
Okay, so if you got stuff that's being moved around, doors opening and closing, it's not necessarily something trying to scare you. It could very well be they're making every effort they can to let you know that they're there, and they're not getting your attention. So finally, they're able to muster up enough energy to be able to close that door, or to be able to knock something off the shelf and let you know, hey, I'm here.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Or to take your keys off a shelf and move them to where you don't know where they are.
Right.
Common report.
And these spirits, they come in several different types. You know, they could be a family member of yours that's drawn to you. They could be drawn to the location, the land, the house. They could be drawn to an object. If you go antique shopping and you buy an antique, there could be a spirit attached to that. You got to be careful what you bring into the house.
Very careful. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, they could also be friendly. They could be there watching over you. They could be there out of curiosity.
Yes.
They could also be malevolent.
Right. That's very
very common. In which case, you know, they will be knocking stuff off the shelves and doing stuff to try to startle you and try to scare you.
Yes.
Maybe trying to make contact with you, trying to harm you.
Right.
Because, you know, they were kind of, you know,
mean people in life.
And now they're still in the afterlife.
Yeah, they can even go so far as to try to push you downstairs.
Right.
So that's one of the things you have to be careful for.
Right, and we've dealt with several cases with malevolent spirits, and one, you know, I remember the lady that they would run right up to her, and try to scare her. You know, and this clearly isn't. I mean, it's one thing. Sometimes people get startled because they see someone standing there. Oh, he's scaring me. Well, no, he's not trying to scare you. He's just standing. He's just there.
Right.
But the one that's running up on you, is trying to scare you.
Yeah, being purposely intimidating.
Right, because he's been doing it over and over again. He sees you're getting scared, and he's still doing it.
Right.
That's not cool.
Yes, that's true. And it's also important to note that, you know, as I said before, if somebody is mean in life, a lot of times they will be mean after their death. And that goes for everything. Whatever you carry in your mind or in your psyche will carry over beyond the death of your body. So a lot of times these people or these spirits are very well aware of what's going on. They're aware of their surroundings. They know what's happening. Oftentimes they even know that they're dead. So that's one of those things where it's hard to, just like it's hard to understand people's motives who are living, it's very hard to understand the motives of a spirit that has already died, of somebody that's died, and they're lingering behind there. So.
And the last type of haunting we're going to talk about tonight is an extremely rare, probably even more rare than demonic type of hauntings, almost on the brink of being a myth, is the doppelganger. Now, the doppelganger is pretty much an image of yourself.
Right.
It's people in public describe seeing themselves. They see themselves at a grocery store, or it's typically in a crowded area where they see someone passing and it's them.
Yes.
We don't really know much about this. No one really knows much about this.
Right.
No one knows where they come from, what they are.
Yeah.
But one thing for certain is, in most cases where these doppelgangers have been reported, it pretty much meant serious illness or imminent death to the person who saw their doppelganger.
Right, right. And we don't know whether this could be something that is something that occurs with the mind or with the body, in which right before death, I mean, who knows? They say that people who are about to cross over to death, people that are very, very ill, they say that veil sort of opens and that they're able to see beyond that veil for a period of time before their death. And this may be one of those instances where they're seeing their own, their selves reflected beyond that veil. And they don't really quite understand, you know, that that's what's occurring, because sometimes you don't know that you're about to die. But, that's one of the possibilities.
Absolutely. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are some of the most common types of hauntings.
Yes.
And this list by no means is all inclusive, and as much as we try to categorize spirits,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to say this is intelligent, this is residual, this is this, this is that,
Right.
there are some that kind of bleed across that thin line and can fall under two categories.
Yes.
There are some that, with this vast spiritual world and so much that is unknown,
Yeah.
there are some that may still yet be unclassified.
Absolutely.
And to say for sure what any one of these hauntings is very, very hard to do, because as we said, demons can be deceitful.
Yes.
And intelligent hauntings can appear in many different ways, which could kind of bleed through the line of shadow people,
Right.
or poltergeist,
Yes.
or demonic.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. And even things as like what they would consider elementals. Elementals are one of those things that it might not necessarily be considered a haunting, but it's certainly something that people see that they can't explain. It's paranormal. It's a creature, or it's some sort of, being that we don't really understand. And it's believed that these things come from other dimensions and can find portals or gateways to come through into our dimensions. But then that may be exactly what demons are, and it may be exactly what spirits are.
Right.
Perhaps they exist in another dimension and just are able to find ways to come through.
Yeah, and perhaps we could do another episode all about elementals.
Yeah.
If you'd like us to do that, comment down below.
Right.
And we'll do it. We'll probably do it either way.
Yeah.
But, if you comment, that'll be cool.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be interesting to talk about, fairies, gnomes. There's all
Yes.
kinds of
all kinds of elementals. Yes.
mythological beings that fall under elementals.
Right. Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check us out on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/Virginia Paranormal. We're on Instagram @Virginia Paranormal.
Right.
We hope to subscribe and like some of our pictures and stuff. And closing thoughts. One type of haunting, extraterrestrial ghosts.
Right.
What if there was the ghost of an alien coming to Earth to visit people?
I suppose that's very much a possibility, but the problem is trying to figure out why it would be there.
I mean, say the same reason that any ghost would be there, while he was alive, he made this journey to Earth,
Right.
and he liked coming to Earth. So now his ghost is coming back to Earth, still making that voyage across time and space
That's true.
to visit.
Yep.
So
That's true. I guess that's a possibility.
that's kind of an eerie thought right there, because you got normal ghosts, you got aliens, but what do you do if you got a ghost alien?
Right, and like you said, maybe that's what shadow people are. Maybe they're extraterrestrials.
Right.
Maybe they're spirits of extraterrestrials.
Right.
So you never know.
Or maybe Bigfoot's an extraterrestrial, and if Bigfoot died, then the ghost of Bigfoot, who is an alien, could come back to haunt you.